This one thing is an extremely accurate predictor of what you will experience next in your life. I'm going to tell you how to find it and how to change it if you so desire, and we're going to go in depth today. So, I'm glad you're here. Welcome in to the Stephen Lovegrove Show. The message that I'm always going to remind you of is that all things are possible for the one who believes, and you are the one. I am here to help you be the one. If we are meeting for the very first time, nice to meet you. My name is Stephen, and more than anything else, I love having conversations that change people's lives, and I am praying that this is one of those conversations today. So, if you would, take a second to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on this video, just to tell the algorithm, I want more of this content and this work in my life. That is a powerful decision that you can make to elevate your consciousness. But without further ado, I want to get into the topic today. And the core truth that I really want to touch on for just a few moments here is what you fill your consciousness with will soon fill your life. What you fill your consciousness with will soon fill your life. Now, here's why this is important, right? Often, there is a gap for people between what they want to experience and what fills their consciousness. Often, there's a gap. Those two things are not in alignment. And so, even if they want this thing over here very, very badly, it doesn't show up. It seems to evade them, right? It keeps not manifesting in their reality. And what is happening there? Why is that happening? Well, quite simply, there's a gap between what they want and what is filling their consciousness. And I want to unpack this for just a few moments today, giving you some examples, some common problems people have, some places to look for what might be filling your consciousness and therefore showing up in your life eventually that is not what you want today, okay? Number one place to look here is often people's consciousness is filled not with what they want, but what they currently have. So the number one thing I want you to ask is it possible that I'm accidentally filling my consciousness not with what I actually want, but simply what I currently have? Now, we can just acknowledge and tell the truth here. That is an easy thing to do. It's easy to get caught up in the surrounding circumstances. It's easy to be triggered by things that are happening or showing up in your life at this moment. It's easy to get sucked into the external world of circumstances and appearances and situations, but before we know it, we end up filling our consciousness with simply what is here right now. And I know when you word it that way, it could sound like, well, Stephen, don't you want people to be present? I thought that you believe that. I thought that you teach that, right? I do want people to be present. But when what you currently have is not what you want, I don't want you to get stuck in a loop of complaining. I don't want you to get stuck in a loop of judgment. I don't want you to get stuck in a loop of dissatisfaction. And most importantly, I want you to realize it's okay if everything that you have in this current moment is not the end-all, be-all fullness of what you want, because it's all subject to change. Everything in your life is subject to change. The details of your reality are subject to change. the circumstances that surround you right now, it is all subject to change. And what you currently have now, I'm not talking about living in judgment. I'm not talking about escapism from the present. I'm not talking about not being grateful. But what you have right now, please understand metaphysically, is simply an artifact from the past of what you created then. I always use this example. The fact that I'm living in this condo in downtown LA today, right? I didn't make the decision to live here and to move in today. I am living here today. This is what I have and where I find myself right now. This is what surrounds me right now. But I am here today because of a decision that I made in the past. So even if it is what I currently have, do you see this principle? What I currently have is still an artifact of what I chose in the past. So make sure that you don't make the mistake of letting what you currently have endlessly fill your consciousness, or you will continue to repeat it. Second place to look. Second mistake people make is filling their consciousness with other people's voices. Filling their consciousness with other people's voices. You know, as I was preparing to share this sentence came through and I wanted to share it with you today. Something is off. The balance is off in your life if you find yourself watching other people's lives more than living your own. The balance is off somewhere if you find yourself watching other people's lives more than living your own. And I particularly wanted to take it a step further, and I felt called to share this for my leaders out there. If you are a leader, and that's not everybody, but that's a lot of you in this community, that's my clients, that's my partners, etc. If you are a leader and you are consuming way more than you are creating, chances are the balance is off for you somewhere. If you are a leader and you are consuming way more than you are creating, chances are the balance is off for you somewhere. And I wanted to speak to this because I feel like I'm a broken record. I feel like I talk about this all the time, but it's so important to me as a message and a truth. Some of you are just not giving nearly enough energy to the thing you want to create. I've given the metaphor before. Some of you, it's like you went to the bank and you opened up a new account and you celebrated that and you shared that and you posted that all over the internet as an accomplishment. I opened this new account. I am up to something. I am doing big things. And some of you, it's like you opened an account, you celebrated it, you felt like you did something, and then you never, ever returned to touch that account ever again. That doesn't work. The account only grows when you are invested. The account only grows when you feed it. The account only grows when you sow into it. Do you see that? And I'm very passionate about this truth that some of you out there is something that you want, a dream, a desire, a vision, but it gets like 1% of your energy, 1% of your time, 1% of your mental real estate. And what is filling the other 99% for many people is other people's lives and other people's voices. And listen, I'm not against social media. Obviously, I am a teacher, a leader, a coach that shows up on social media. Obviously, the only reason you're able to hear this message from me is connecting through the internet, through YouTube, through technology, etc. So I'm not against any of these things, but I want you to be aware if other people's lives ever start to consume your consciousness more than your own purpose, your own destiny, your own vision, we need to make an adjustment, right? And this is just a tip that I will offer to you, something that I've been sharing with people recently, but I strongly recommend in this season, pick a handful of leaders, a handful of mentors, a handful of voices that you love, that you trust, that you hear something true and powerful and encouraging from. And make it a priority to stay connected to those voices in your life and to tune out everything and everybody else for the most part. I'm not saying you can't scroll. I'm not saying you can't receive something from somebody or something random, etc. But do you understand, if you're a spiritual leader, for example, you're going to hear 39 contradictory messages out there that will just leave you overwhelmed and confused if you're not tapping into, what am I here to say? What am I here to share? What am I meant to teach? If you are a business owner and you are simultaneously trying to execute 74 different strategies for how to grow your business, it's not going to make you more effective. It's going to make you less effective. And so instead of trying to listen to anybody or everybody, do you hear the principle there? Instead of just anybody that comes across your feed, and instead of trying to listen to just everybody out there that claims to have a secret to success, instead of that, would you consider picking a handful of trusted people and saying, I'm going to listen to these people in this season of life? It doesn't have to be a permanent decision. It doesn't mean you can't change it at any time, but it has served me well in so many seasons over the years to just decide, this is my circle. These are my mentors. These are my inspirations. These are my advisors. This is who I am tapping into in this season. So number 2 is other people's voices. Other people's voices, and we could even say other people's lives. And then number 3, the third one that I want to talk about today is filling your consciousness with the energy of a problem. Filling your consciousness with the energy of a problem. So some of you out there, you're filling your consciousness with just the same old status quo of what you currently have. Others of you out there are filling your consciousness with other people's lives and other people's realities and voices and opinions, right? But then there's this third group, and I think this is the most important one that I could speak to today. Because this is a group of people where you really are trying to do the inner work to create what you want. You really are trying to stay on track. You really are trying to stay focused. You really are trying to stay in the flow. But there's a mistake that you're making that you may not even realize you're making. And what's happening is, as you attempt to do that, right, you get stuck in what I call the energy of a problem. And I mean, it feels like a problem. It looks like a problem. You are experiencing it as a problem. I want to talk to somebody today who has been stuck in the energy of a problem. And it makes me think of the Abraham Hicks quote I heard years and years ago, where Abraham Hicks said, if you remove your consciousness of worry, you will suddenly realize you have removed all causes for worry. Do you hear the truth and the power in that? If you can remove the worry, you can remove the causes for worry. And I think people don't realize this often until they're in the thick of it. But sometimes as people attempt to do the inner work to get into alignment with what they want, they end up living in a consciousness of, I've got a big problem to solve. Now, this is tricky Because our brain, our dopamine hits, our ego love to have a problem to solve. It feels important. It feels urgent. It feels like it gives us meaning. And there is a part of us that says, yes, yes, yes. You give me a problem. I welcome that. And I can go to work and I can be productive and I can have a purpose and I can find meaning in this. And I am going to go into a problem-solving mode and get it done. And it can feel like a very powerful and productive thing that you're going to solve a problem. But how many of you know from experience, and I'm raising my hand, I'll be the first to say I do, that too often when we enter into the energy of a problem, the consciousness of a problem, the conversation of having a problem, too often we just get stuck there. And we don't end up at a solution to a problem. We just end up endlessly experiencing a problem. And so I wanted to say very specifically to some people that I believe are watching this, if there is something in your health, in your physical body that you are wanting to see change, don't make the mistake of filling your consciousness with sickness and disease and symptoms. I'm not saying we're denying reality, but I'm saying if you're watching this and you are really working towards a change of any kind in your body or your health or your fitness, make sure that along the way of pursuing that, your consciousness doesn't become filled with the problems and the issues and the symptoms. If you're working to change your financial reality, make sure that your consciousness is not getting filled with poverty and struggle and debt. Make sure that even and especially in the name of inner work, you don't fill your consciousness with the problem. I know that you think you're doing it to be productive. I know you're doing it because you want to do the work. I know you're doing it because you're fixated on the thing you want to shift. But it's not an effective strategy to fill your consciousness with the problem. Now, you might say, well, Stefan, what's the alternative then? What's the other option? What is the right answer if you don't want me to fill my consciousness with the problem? And I am so glad you asked, because the answer is fill your consciousness with truth. Fill your consciousness with wholeness. Fill your consciousness with the vision. Fill your consciousness with truth. Fill your consciousness with wholeness. Fill your consciousness with the vision. And I really wanted to share this message today because I want you to understand something about the teaching and the trainings and the content that I share here on YouTube. In many instances, we are going to dive deep and we are going to unpack things and we are going to do the work together. But I want you to know, more than anything else, I want this content to fill your heart, to fill your life, to fill your consciousness with faith and power and possibility and vision and purpose. And I just want you to understand something about my approach and how it is based in timeless spiritual truth. That if you can fill your consciousness with something new, you can see something new in your life. If you can fill your consciousness with something new, you can experience something new in your life. See, the mistake that a lot of you have made in the past is you tried to create a new result, a new reality, a new experience in your life, but with an old consciousness. And as the old saying goes, you cannot put new wine into old wineskins. It's literally an impossibility. It can't hold it. The wineskins will burst. You can't put new wine into old wineskins. And in the same way, you can't birth a new reality from an old consciousness. I hope that really clicks for somebody today. It's not going to work to build a new reality from an old consciousness, from an old identity, from an old belief system, from an old energy, from an old version of you. It's not going to work. And so I just want to acknowledge, you may have, as do I, as do many of my clients and partners and friends, you may have some things in your past that were very difficult or painful or even traumatic. You may have things in your life right now that you would really, really, really like to be different. You may have circumstances that you are going through that seem overwhelming, that seem insurmountable, that put you in a very dark place at times. And I want you to know, I see you and you are not alone. And I am never going to minimize or gloss over any part of your very real human experience in the here and now. But please hear me on this. The reason that I'm going to continue to show up here with a message of unconditional love, with a message of infinite possibility, that all things are possible for the one who believes, with a message that God loves you, that God is with you, that you are eternally blessed, including right now. The reason I'm going to continue to get on here with my positive, preachy, over-the-top, energetic self, sharing this message again and again and again. It's not because I don't understand what you're going through. It's not because I'm minimizing your experience. It's not because I don't understand that you really, really, really want some circumstances in your life to change. The reason for it is, I know that the fastest way to get you to a new reality is to get you to a new consciousness. The fastest way to get you to a new reality is to get you to a new consciousness. And so everything that I teach, everything that I create, everything that I record and post and share is all being done with the intention to support you in getting to a new consciousness ASAP. And I would love to invite you to type this out in the comments if you are with me on this. I am committed to get to a new consciousness. I am committed to get to a new consciousness. I think about the insurance company that had all those commercials with the big, booming, reassuring voice saying, get to a better state. That's my goal for you. And I want you to be committed to getting to a new consciousness. So I understand that your life may not look like health and wholeness and vitality right now. We're still going to hold the frequency. We're still going to hold the vision. We're still going to stay in the consciousness on this channel of health and vitality and well-being, wellness, wholeness, because we want that to fill your consciousness so it can fill your life. You may not feel like you have a lot of evidence of prosperity and abundance and overflow in your reality right now, but we're still going to stay in a conversation of prosperity and abundance and overflow so we can get you into a new consciousness so that it can change your life. This is going to be a consciousness of love. This is going to be a consciousness of empowerment. This is going to be a consciousness of faith. And it is here for you to use and access and tap into any time you want. Because it is simply the law, and you've heard me say it so many times, the law is the law is the law is the law. It does not care if you watch Real Housewives or educational Netflix documentaries or no TV at all. The law is the law is the law is the law. It works for every person every time. And so it is the law that if you can live somewhere new in consciousness long enough, you will have a new life. You know, somebody asked me recently, out of curiosity, and they really said this in such a friendly way. I want to clarify. I didn't feel any judgment from this. But somebody recently asked me, why are your YouTube videos so long? Right? Just out of curiosity. And it's funny because I know that the algorithm doesn't necessarily reward that. I know that like a 9-minute video might be YouTube's ideal. But I said to them, you know, number one, this is my flow. This is who I am. This is how I teach. I am prospering more than ever before because I am being more true to myself than ever before, and I am living more in my zone of genius than ever before. And by the way, that's a message, a word, a confirmation for somebody to take and to reflect on today. What if you will prosper more than ever before? Not by trying to follow somebody else's perfect strategy for success. What if you will prosper more than ever before when you honor your soul more than ever before? When you are true to yourself, when you stay in your flow that has your name on it, when you do it your way more than ever before. What if you will prosper more than ever this year because you lived in your zone of genius more than ever? Just something to sit with. But that's what I've been doing. And so I told this person, well, number one, that's just me, that's just my flow. But number two, because the goal of these teachings are to shift people from the inside out. And what I have learned is we don't just need a momentary idea. We don't just need something that's interesting momentarily. We don't just need something that lifts our mood temporarily, right? We need a shift in our consciousness that pours out into our lives from the inside out. And so I know that those of you who subscribe, those of you who are connected to me here, some of you who have been with me from the beginning, some of you who are new friends, some of you who are just checking this out for the first time, all of you are welcome. But I think a lot of you really do understand this principle. And I'm not saying you have to have time for a 2-hour video every single time you press play. I recommend very explicitly to people, find a video or a teaching that speaks to you and press play even if you just have 5 minutes, even if you are just on the go, right? Press play and listen to something, watch something until you get what you need for the day, until you hear from God, until you get what you came for. You know, there are people who do 10 minutes of these videos a day while they're making their kids' lunches or driving them to school or getting ready in the morning. There are people who pop it on while they're walking through the airport or riding on the subway. There are people who listen in all sorts of ways that work for them. But the reason that I want you to have this volume of teaching, this quantity of teaching, this length of teaching available to you is because I want you to be able to sit in it and soak in it and dwell in it and live in it and breathe into it until it changes your consciousness, until it changes how you think, until it changes your whole reality. That's the goal. Now, is one video that you have to pay attention to going to be enough to change your whole consciousness and change your whole reality? Probably not. But if you stick with me here and you continue to connect to truth and you continue to connect to wholeness and you continue to connect to vision, that is more than enough to change your whole life. If you can change your consciousness, you can change your life, because what fills your consciousness will soon fill your life. We are filling your consciousness today with the knowing that all is well. We are filling your consciousness today with the knowing that there is plenty, there is more than enough to go around. There is an infinite supply available. We are filling your consciousness today with a peace that passes all understanding. We are filling your consciousness today with a trust that everything is happening perfectly, exactly as it should be in divine timing and order. We are filling your consciousness today with the knowing all things are possible for the one who believes, and yes, you are the one. That applies to you. That will work for you too. I want to thank every single one of you for watching today, and particularly, I want to shout out and acknowledge and honor this video was made possible by my partners, a small but mighty group of individuals all around the world, literally from numerous continents, who have stepped forward and said, I want to support this work, this mission, this message going out into the world. It is because of you that I make videos just like this one, and free resources and training and content that we make available to 2.9 billion people and counting. That number is only going to grow as the technology and the access grows in literally over 100 countries all around the world. So thank you for partnering with me. I know that you all know this, but every single day I wake up and I begin the day praying for my partners, blessing each one of you by name, and as always, blessing you into 100-fold return. If this video and this message spoke to you today and you would like to join those who are partnering with me and you would like to participate in this moment, we will post the link here for you. All that I ask is that you would share with me in the notes section on that site. What are you setting into motion today? I believe money is energy. A transfer of money is a transfer of energy. And many of you know I've done an entire teaching on this, but I really believe we have the opportunity to circulate our resources with intention, to support what we want to see in the world, and to set something into motion when we do. So, if you want to participate, please give the seed you are sowing an assignment and share it with me. I would love to read it. I would love to know what you are believing for. I am standing in agreement with you. No amount is too small. No amount is too big. The power is in your faith and what you choose to set into motion. But thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you, and I will continue praying for you and blessing you every single day. If you have not already, take a second to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications here on this platform. Let's stay connected. I promise you, if you do that, it will change your consciousness for the better. And you might not even believe what your life looks like a year from now. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I love you, I believe in you, and the best is yet to come.